Good evening, ghoulies and ghosties and long-leggedy beasties. This is Alex coming at you from the underworld, and welcome back to another episode of Well, it is October, and this means I can finally start reviewing some horror books that are Halloween themed. And yes, by the way, this is my favorite time of the year, and I do love my pumpkin spice lattes, but I have learned from last year that I just do not need to ask for those, especially if they're coming from Carrie. So for this reason, I have kind of branched out of my basic bitch habitat. But this time I am going to do something a little different with my Halloween book lineup, which every video, of course, I'm going to review a book, but I'm also going to get into makeup, and Carrie's going to do the makeup for me. Now, the reason why we're doing this is because even though I'm not going out for Halloween night, I'm still going to dress up, and whichever look ends up looking the best is what I'm going to dress up as for Halloween. So, Carrie?
Yes?
I'm ready for my makeup.
Alright, what do you want to be?
Well, since this book is about the devil, I want to be the devil.
Alright.
Oh, good God. I look like what would happen if Dr. Frankenfurter had sex with the darkness from legend and had a baby. What the hell? I mean, seriously?
And now it's time for the split pea soup.
What do you mean split pea soup? This ain't no damn exorcist. What the hell are you talking? What the hell is wrong with you? My God, that felt like Rosemary's Baby took a shit down the back of my neck. To kick off my 2020 Halloween book review lineup, I'm going to start with the book The Gates by John Connolly. And I've read this about 2 or 3 times by now, which every time I visit it, I absolutely love it. And truth be it, the book is very suitable for this time of year, but it is also the first book of a trilogy, and parts 2 and 3 don't take place at Halloween. So for that reason, I'm going to review the sequel and third part at a later date, because I really want to just reserve this month for books that take place during October or during Halloween itself. And if you haven't read this book before, it is a young adult dark comedy that has a lot of good horror elements to it. So if you enjoy that type of subject matter, then you're definitely going to enjoy what I have to say about this book. But without me rambling on too much, let's go in and see what happens when you throw open the gates of hell. The Gates by John Connolly opens up introducing the young protagonist by the name of Samuel Johnson, and even though Halloween is a few nights away, this kid has some gumption to him because he's deciding to go trick-or-treating a few nights in advance to the holiday so he can get some damn good candy. Now, as he's making his rounds, he ends up coming across this old house that's owned by Mr. and Mrs. Abernathy. And by the way, the address to the home is 666 Crowley Lane. So if you caught that nod, kudos to you. But what happens here is after Sam knocks on the door, Mr. Abernathy reprimands him by saying that he doesn't need to be out trick-or-treating this early because it's not fair to the other kids. Well, after Sam has received this reprimand, he goes and sits down on the curb and starts to sulk. But as he's sulking, this blue light flashes from the Abernathy's basement window, and with him being the curious kid that he is, he goes to the window and looks in to see that the Abernathys and their friends the Renfields have opened a portal to hell. And here's where things even get worse. From that portal, you have multiple demons that have escaped and have now assumed the role of the Abernathys and Renfields. And as Samuel is listening to their plans, he discovers that these demons are going to open up the gates of hell on Halloween night. And now it's up to Sam to save the world and put the demons back where they belong. Published in October of 2009, The Gates is the first book in the Samuel Johnson series. Also, it was Connolly's first young adult book. In that same year, Connolly told Publishers Weekly that he wanted to write The Gates for a long time, but what prevented him was he had been unable to find plot detail that would provide the story's catalyst. That was until quantum physics granted him with the information to produce a story without it relying on ancient magic. Which this is where his use of the Large Hadron Collider comes into play and where fact and fiction blend. In reality, the LHC is the world's largest and most powerful particle accelerator, and it has the ability to push protons to the speed of light. One of the LHC's greatest achievements was in 2012 when it discovered the God particle. Also, although the LHC cannot generate black holes, a few theories suggest tiny black holes could be possible. Fun facts! Here's a few things you might not know about John Connolly. John Connolly was born in Dublin, Ireland, where he graduated from Dublin City University with a Master's in Journalism. Prior to him becoming a full-time author, he worked 5 years as a freelance journalist for the Irish Times newspaper. As for inspiration, Connolly cites authors like Ross Macdonald, James Lee Burke, and Ed McBain as being influential with their prose. In 2015, DreamWorks Studios purchased the rights for The Gates, as well as The Infernals and The Creeps for a possible franchise. Now that we have that out of the way, it's time to move on to the spoiler section of this video, which, if you've never read this book before, I'm going to reveal some scenes that could ruin the experience for you. And if you wish to skip this, just scroll down to the comment section, and you'll see that I have a pinned comment at the top with the timestamp in it. If you were to click that timestamp, it will redirect you to the thoughts section of this video. Now, you only have 17 seconds to do this, so ready, set, go. Since everyone has had the opportunity to click away, I want to talk about a few moments that really stood out to me, which the first one that comes to mind is when Miss Abernathy inspects the portal that opened up in her basement, which as she's doing this, you have this grayscale demon that pops out of the portal and drags her to hell. And after that happens, that demon ends up manifesting in our reality as an imposter version of Mrs. Abernathy. But, of course, the horror doesn't end there, because what happens next is, as the Renfields are trying to escape, these spider webs shoot out of the portal and wrap around the Renfields, then drag them to hell. Which, of course, we have demons that take their place, but before they can shapeshift into the Renfields, they look like these spider-human hybrid things. So if you have arachnophobia, that scene might kind of get under your skin. But the demon that really did it for me was the one that ended up taking Mr. Abernathy to hell. And what happens here is you see this pink tongue that comes out of the portal, then it yanks him into hell, and the demon that manifests in his place is this green blob-looking thing that's kind of described as being a toad. And I am scared as hell of frogs and toads. Like, seriously, even a little tree frog will make me scream like a bitch, so please don't ever get any frogs around me. Now, with that said, this scene really did not scare me or creep me out or anything like that, which the main reason why is because you have a lot of humor that's tied to it. And I don't feel like the humor is out of place. As a matter of fact, I feel like it complements the scene very well, and I really enjoyed the juxtaposition between humor and horror. Now, another moment that I really enjoyed was when the Gates of Hell opened up on Halloween, which this actually goes throughout like about 10 chapters of all the demons that are running amok in our realm. Which, among those, we have a pretty good variety. Like, we have one that has a skeleton head with bat wings, then there's these goat-headed men, and you have these piggish-looking demons, as well as there being these flying lizard women, and also the living dead. So it's really a smorgasbord for all horror fans. And in a way, it kind of reminded me of the grand finale at the end of the original and the remake of Ghostbusters, which I'm a fan of both of those. But I just really loved all the eye candy that was going on and just how there was so much going down all at once. So that was really cool. And of course, the ending of this, I am really happy that the author did not go with a trope at the end of this book, because instead of them relying on a spell book or an ancient ritual or something to send the demons back, they just used good old-fashioned science, which this is where Nerd ends up taking Sam's father's car and drives it through the portal, so it will create a suction that pulls all the demons back into hell. And I really hated to see Nerd go, because I loved how Nerd and Sam interacted. They were just very lovable together. And I know that's weird because, you know, Nerd's a demon, but he really had a good heart to him. And even though he's gone for now, I know that this is the first book of a trilogy, so I'm pretty certain that we're going to see him again. You know what? Out of the main characters, there really isn't anybody who I want to bitch about, because they were all likable. Even the villains were likable. But there is that one person I do want to bring into the spotlight who was a very small side character. And I'm talking about Sam's asshole father. Now, the thing about him is he really doesn't have any page time. But for the amount of page time he does have, we see he is a total douchebag. And let me paint you a picture here. Pretty much, this asshole ended up leaving his wife and child because he wanted some new punani. Well, on top of that, he's also an absentee father. And let me give you an example. Pretty much, he calls home to talk to his wife about going on and pushing through the divorce papers. Well, it just so happens that Sam answers the phone, and he's trying to talk to his dad about what he experienced, and he's hoping to get some help or some good life advice, which his dad really gives him neither. Instead, he just says, "Oh, well, you're making it up. It's your imagination. Now let me talk to your mom so I can plow some new fields over here." And, you know, I'm just like, you are such a piece of shit. And nothing really bad happens to him because we never see him on page, but we do have the satisfaction of seeing at the end how his prize-winning car gets driven off into hell. Foremost, The Gates is a dark comedy, and by how it's constructed, it reminds me of what would happen if Neil Gaiman collaborated with Christopher Moore and they threw in Harry Potter. So that was a really cool combination. And also, I loved a lot of the aspects that the book provided, such as the humor was there, the originality was there, and I also love the fact that the demons had a kick-ass creature feature vibe. But overall, I really love the fact that this book really focused on the idea of how important it is to be loyal. And this comes about early on in the book because we see by how Sam and his dog interacts, there's a bond there. And even with the demons trying to attack Sam, this little Dashed Hound is trying to protect the boy. And that makes everything even more precious because of the size difference between little dog, big demon. And another example is how Sam and his friends interact, because even though his friends don't believe him about what he saw at the Abernathy's house, they decide that they are going to stand by him no matter what, and they are going to help him through this, and they are not going to leave his side. And that's exactly what young adults need. They need the whole idea of staying loyal and trying to help one another and trying to find a positive solution to overcome obstacles. So I really did appreciate that. And as far as characters go, I really love the character development in this book. Like, all of the characters were fun, even the demons were fun, and Nerd, oh my god, I loved the demon Nerd, because even though he was a demon, he totally had a big heart to him, and just the stuff he goes through is very just tender and comedic, and I just loved everything about him. So, at the end of the day, did the book scare me? No, it didn't. Did the book creep me out? No, it didn't. But I was very invested in the story, and both of the times I read this, I laughed out loud numerous times. So, yeah, this was totally something that I will revisit again in the future, and I'm sure it's going to bring out my inner child once more. The Gates by John Connolly is a fun, whimsical read that brought out my inner child. And if you're looking for a book to really complement this time of year, then The Gates is totally the book for you. And the first time I read this was in a printed format, but then I ended up listening to the audiobook, and I really did enjoy the audiobook, which, as a matter of fact, if you do enjoy audio, I would highly recommend the audiobook because the narrator's voice does give a deeper level to the humor that's in this title. So, at the end of the day, yes, I do highly recommend this. I think that a lot of older teenagers and parents would enjoy this. Maybe some of the younger teenagers would as well, but it might be a little too over their head. On to the questions. My first question is, what is a horror book you would recommend that's also comedic? Load up the comments. My second question is, what do you plan to do for Halloween since coronavirus has limited everyone? Pretty much, I am not going to do anything else except just cook some chili, watch some horror movies, and drink some booze. And that's really going to be it. But if you have something else planned that's pretty safe, let me know because I might want to do it too. And with that said, it's now time to move on to my new segment, which once a week I am posting an image on my social media, and this is on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram, and I'm asking people to leave a caption on that image or to meme it, and whoever comes up with the best caption gets a shout out in my video. So for this week, I've chosen Well, I hope everyone enjoyed that meme because it really did brighten my day. But now it's time to go on and close out the video, which I would like to say thank you to Lisa G. And the reason why I'm giving her this shout out is because she's been awesome enough to contribute to my Patreon. And if you would like to contribute as well, just go to the description section of this video and click the link I have for Patreon. And you'll have two different tier options, one of which is $5, which I'll give you a shout out at the end of my videos. And another one is $10, which I'll still give you that same shout out, but I'll send you over a photo once a month, which once you receive that photo, you can print it off and do whatever you want with it because I do creepy photography on the side, and that's just my little thank you to you. And if you can do that, that's great, but if not, that's cool too. All I hope is you continue to return to this channel so we can have fun. And if you would like to hit me up on social media, links to my Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, and TikTok are all available in the description section of this video. And if you haven't subscribed, be sure to subscribe to this channel and click that notifications bell because I have more great book reviews coming in the near future. And until we see each other again, I hope you have a wonderful week and sweet nightmares.